in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hola hippies, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hippies and straights around the world. This is your old buddy Dr. John Konapak down in Albuquerque, New Mexico with another episode of As the Cookie Crumbles. Today, Damascus in the crosshairs. I know I've talked before about what I've called, and lots of people call, Politik. The pragmatic, unvarnished way that things really are in the ways of power, bereft of niceties, despite what we'd prefer or might have been led to believe. A story from Syria this afternoon on the webs told how a band of Syrian rebels had stopped a bus and murdered and then beheaded all the passengers, including a baby. Note to self, it's a civil war in Syria. Civil wars are notoriously uncivil. And civil wars, at least in the present era, are fought with terror, much more with terror than with conventional battles. Civilians are the targets, but they're also the prize. As the fates of Saddam Hussein and Libya's Gaddafi have assuredly reminded him, the dictator Bashar Assad is fighting for his life, but not only for his life, also for the lives of his whole confession, the Alawites. They are about 10% of the population in Syria, which is around 22 million people, and have been this ethnic masters, really, of Syria since the French set things up in the 20s of the last century. And they have incurred fierce enmities. If and when Assad falls, when he falls, there will probably be an Alawite genocide in Syria. Ethnic cleansing of a sort, you must say. Assad is a murderous brute. He should have held elections when his old man died. Perhaps if he'd done so, Syria might have been able to negotiate or to begin to negotiate a passage to a kind of a Lebanon-style flexible domestic truce among all the contesting parties, though probably it was already too late for that. His father, Hafez al-Assad, was a brutal, murderous, sadistic bastard too, and whose secret police were hated and feared, and for good reason. The rebels, well, it's kind of irrelevant who they are, really, since nationality and religion are to an extent interchangeable in the region. There are some non-Syrian jihadis among them, apparently. They're also murderous brutes. From what pieces I've read, they mainly seem to be creatures of the Saudis, who see this conflict in Syria as a proxy fight with their foremost Islamic rivals, Iran. Possibly the foot soldiers, the thugs, the murderers of the bus passengers and such are inspired by religious zeal. They may be holy brutes, but murderous nonetheless. Politik break. In fact, it has been exceedingly rarely actually possible to unseat existing power which is reluctant to let go without unleashing the murderous brutes. Recorded incidents have been extremely rare. Gandhi won non-violently against the Brits, but that's only because they had decided already that the Raj was up and were pretty happy to dispense with the whole mess, which of course they had created. In Syria, those blood-soaked genii are long since out of the bottle and are not easily, nor indeed possibly ever likely to be recaptured, to be recontained. Not to mention the bigger implications involving Iran and Turkey and the Kurds. There are a lot of Kurds in Syria who, I take it, fear for their lives if the rebels win. Then there's the fucking Saudis and the fucking Israelis and the Sunni Shia thing, and oh, don't forget the oil. Terminals and pipelines and refineries and the oil ports. Lots of investment. None of it bodes well for peace in the region in our time. Syria at least seems to be headed for the ash heap of Levantine history, no matter what it seems like from here. Just seem to be too many contesting forces and interests to resolve the strife. A fact not without its own peculiar poignancy, I might say, in our situation, for our own consideration, where we hear more and more strident cries for revolution in our lives. I'll be pondering it surely when I see you at the beach, hippies. Cheers. Paz.